When we usually talk about Sunday Night Football, usually we're talking about that in the context of the NFL because the NFL usually dominates on Sunday. But as Lee Corso would always says, as he's getting ready to enjoy his retirement after 37 faithful years of service, he would always say, "Not so fast, my friend," as the Sunday game that we actually have that is going to be on primetime television is going to be Notre Dame taking on the Miami Hurricanes in what is actually going to be yet another top 10 matchup that we're going to be blessed with in week number one, as Notre Dame does come in ranked number 6 in the country, while Miami also comes in at number 10, according to the Red Shirt Sports Top 25, the official Top 25 poll for college football Redzone. And this is certainly a storied rivalry. Obviously we know about the Catholics versus convicts moniker, definitely making its comeback, it seems like, this year. And shout out to Miami and Notre Dame, really, for both of these teams to really go out and schedule up. It's easy in this current environment in college football to just go out and load up as many cupcakes as you can in your non-conference. Notre Dame doesn't have that luxury as much because they are an independent team, but shout out to Miami, man, really scheduling up. They also have Florida in the non-conference. They're not running away from everybody, so I love that for the Miami Hurricanes here this fall. But I mean, both teams got some major aspirations, particularly Notre Dame, right? This is a team that did end up having a real shot at winning the national championship last year. Fell a little short against Ohio State, but they did make that national championship game. And they're coming back and they're boasting one of the deepest offensive lines in the entire country. Plus a balanced attack that's really built around a physical running game, particularly built around Jeremiah Love, as well as a passing game that might have a little bit more upside. CJ Carr seems to be, at least has a little bit more potential as a passer than what we've seen from Riley Leonard, who certainly is a capable passer, but was also a better athlete than what we saw as a true passer, right? But we might see a different kind of quarterback in CJ Carr. But at the same time, though, that first start for CJ Carr, and he was named the starting quarterback, what a time to get your first start right. You're going up against a Miami defense that's really trying to show what happened from a defensive standpoint was truly a fluke, and they're looking to be a much improved defensive outfit, particularly in the secondary. Now, the Miami front seven is actually better than what people give credit for, and I think it's underrated. And really look at the weakness, or at least the biggest question mark of the Miami defense. Of course, it has to be that secondary. They portaled in several pieces to try to shore that up quickly. So, how quickly are they going to find synergy, and how quickly are they going to be able to find that chemistry quickly? But because you have that inexperience at the quarterback position, it may not be as much of an issue for the Miami Hurricanes, and you won't have to worry about that same inexperience, as on the other sideline you happen to have Carson Beck, who obviously has started multiple years and really trying to recapture his 2023 form. That made him viewed as a first round pick prior to the start of last season. This time last year, we thought that he was going to play his last year of college football this year, and we thought we were going to go ahead and just go ahead and see Carson Beck off to the NFL. But he's still here at the college level and transferring out of Georgia to be a part of this Miami program. He'll have the benefit of, I think, not having to do it alone. Is the trench play, as we mentioned, on the defensive side, that should be improved. But same could be said for the offensive line, as well as an underrated backfield that can actually challenge the discipline of the Notre Dame front seven that has been instilled by Marcus Freeman. And you can tell by that defensive identity, we know that Notre Dame is going to be well coached, even though we may see them a little bit sloppier than usual because, frankly, what we have seen in these week 0 and week 1 games that we have watched so far, that it could be a little bit more on the on the sloppier side of things. So, but regardless, I do think that this game is really going to test the coaching pedigree of Mario Cristobal, who has struggled to keep his team locked in the most critical games and even in the most critical moments. Really thinking back to the Georgia Tech game a couple years ago, and really a head scratcher towards the end of the year where Miami, they lose two of their last three games, and it really costs them a shot to maybe make some more noise in the college football playoff. Uh, but please understand, Miami, I don't view them as a window program. This is a team that has the talent profile, especially now where they could make some noise any given year. And I think we're starting to get to that point. Yes, Mario Cristobal hasn't made the best decisions in those critical moments, but just because he hasn't been able to do something, and that's in particular to being able to win those big games in those critical moments, that doesn't necessarily mean that he can't do it, that it can't happen. We just haven't seen it yet. It's the same moniker that we had for, you know, Ryan Day. The narrative around him was that he couldn't win the big one, and guess what he does last year? He wins the national championship of all things. So you'll notice on FanDuel right now, as we're recording this video, that Fighting Irish are favored right now, but at the same time, the model actually does believe the wrong team is favored. And let me tell you guys something right now. I have been incredibly high on the Miami Hurricanes this entire season. And I personally believe that with this defense being better, and I actually don't think there's going to be as much of a drop-off offensively than maybe what people are going to be expecting. I'm really high on Carson Beck, who I still think is a top 10 quarterback in college football. I truly think that this is going to be a breakout year for the Miami Hurricanes. I'm calling it right now. Yes, we do understand that defense has struggled mightily, but because of how that secondary being the biggest question is going to match up against the inexperience at the quarterback position, I actually think Miami does match up relatively well against the Fighting Irish. And because of that, and not to mention that you got Carson Beck as well, who's really looking to recapture that 2023 magic, and I think he can do that too. I'm extremely high on Carson Beck. I think people are going to start to remember how good Carson Beck truly is, and it's going to start with this Sunday night clash. So I know that Notre Dame, they have a tremendous amount of talent. I think that this is a team that I would be surprised that if they didn't make the college football playoff. I truly think that highly of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Don't get that twisted by any means. But at the same token, though, I think we're going to see an upset happen down in Miami, Florida. And I think the Miami Hurricanes are going to come out. They are going to stun the college football world a little bit. And they're going to pull off a stunning upset, winning 31-27 with Carson Beck being named player of the game.